couple that's teaching India English, an app that's got over 9 million downloads since its launch in October 2014. Today on the show, meet Nishant and Pranchu Patni, founders of Hello English, a popular English learning app.
Tell me what's going on in your head. What were the initial sort of going through it like? Do you guys sort of were discussing plan Bs, constantly, or I mean, how does it work?
Honestly, if you're jumping into starting something of your own, you should never think of a plan B, because if you've thought of a plan B, you're not giving your 100% in what you've started up.
Right.
So we consciously decided that we'll not think about the job that we've left or the job that we can get, because honestly, both of us had great educational backgrounds and experience. We could have landed another job very easily, but if you feel that you have an easy option, you'd give up too soon. And I think that's what kills most startups. You know that you have an option and you give up. So persistence is the key here. That's why we never thought of a
so we
plan
keep
B.
thinking of options, so yes, we are heading towards this goal, and if this particular feature fails, then this is what we need to try out next, etc. So in that direction you keep having options, but you don't say that what the hell, okay, if this fails, then that's the direction I'm going to choose. Because if you do, as Pranchu was saying, if you do have that option, most of the times it turns out that you never work hard enough to get onto this path, right? So that's what our mindset was at that point. In fact, it was a little more bold than I think what most entrepreneurs would make as a move, because in our case we were both committed into it, right? So we got in fact married right after we launched Culture Rally.
I see. Okay.
And we were 200% committed as a family into what we were doing. It was our baby. It was more than just our baby, actually. So but having just one clear focus sort of helped us
This
a
is
lot.
it. I'm going to make this happen.
Yes.
Exactly.
Basically. That's the spirit.
You
100%.
pivot within it.
Sure.
I mean, I think for 99% of entrepreneurs, how you envision your company while you're starting up versus where it lands a year, 2 year, 5 years down the line, it's never exactly how you'd planned. So there are pivots in the journey, but what one shouldn't do is let that pivot be like another career option, because then you know that, hey, there is a cushion right there. Why should I walk on this rocky road? Why don't I just go and sit there, right? So that's what we avoided.
So you're talking about this journey now. Here you are, where sort of definitely undisputed leader. At least at present, you've held this space for a while. Has the success taken you aback? Like, is this more than what you thought, especially at the pace with which things have moved?
Well, when we were sort of designing a product for this opportunity, we knew that it was a problem that's being faced by billions, right? Not just millions. So we were sort of, when at the outset itself, we were expecting to solve a problem at scale. So it hasn't, from that perspective, come as a surprise that, when we were really able to develop something which could solve that problem, it got taken off that well. On the other hand, yes, I mean, when there is sort of success and when there's sort of not as much success, right? Both of those sort of can hamper you emotionally into, how you're motivated and how you're delivering to the job that you're designed to do. I think in both of those cases, we personally make a point to sort of detach ourselves. So one is what we are doing. It is difficult.
Sounds very tough.
It is difficult.
I mean, you're making it seem easy, but
I
I know it must be tough.
But it's the same sort of a detachment that sort of allowed us to keep going when, it hadn't reached that pinnacle. And it's, I think, the same sort of detachment which, again, allows us to sort of be blind to...
Right, so don't let the successes or the failures really get to you. Which one of you is more emotional and takes things to heart more?
I'm not sure. We're emotional about different aspects, perhaps, right? I would say Nishant is really emotional when it comes to the product design and, so, I mean, we're emotional in different aspects. Plus, Natasha, 0 to 8 million in just about a year is great.
Yes.
But look at what's in store, right? We have to hit 1 billion. So we still don't define this as success. Sure. It's the right step towards success, but we've not gotten it yet. So, there's a long way for us to go. I think we're on the right track, though.
Right. What is it about the product? I mean, I've seen it. Because sort of going to just take our viewers through it also.
Right.
But what is it about the product? Because from what I could tell, it's simple.
Yeah.
And I've always believed that that's the key to getting it right. You know, it's simple.
Yeah.
It's easy on the eye.
Right.
And with very limited understanding of English, you can go through it reasonably easily.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Tell me, what else do you believe is sort of making the product a hit?
Right. There are a few different things actually. So one is making it simple, right? And making it simple is easy for sort of folks who are used to playing around with apps on their smartphones, etc. Turns out it's not that simple for folks who are first-time smartphone users, right? And that's the user who is a typical user, right? I mean, that's the user who's not sort of used a lot of apps till now, you know, because he doesn't know even basic English, right? So it's not the user who's spending time on Facebook. It's not the user who's sort of super fluent with WhatsApp, etc. Turns out it's the guy who's a first-time smartphone user, and as an app, it's our responsibility to have him, you know, welcome and feel at home, and, you know, really nudge him that this is the button that you now need to click, and this is when you need to speak into the app, and so on, right? So we do that, and that's the core USP, as you point out. But we do that for different vernacular languages, right? So we do that for 15 different vernacular tongues in India now. So no matter if you are a Gujarati speaker or an Assamese speaker or an Urdu speaker, right, you will still feel at home, because this is a, you know, unlike other apps which are designed actually for anglicized folks such as you and me, we took that pain to design it completely at the outset for this person who can't, you know, speak any English. That's one. The other thing is that even the content that sort of gets packed in the app is actually very, very carefully thought about, and it's designed for that Indian who's wanting to have his first conversation in English. So unlike sort of other international products which try to solve this problem by taking something that was designed for the US customer or for a Latin American customer, you know, we took the...
We can't have this one-size-fits-all situation.
Exactly.
We are rather unique in where we are and our understanding.
So the problems, you know, what it actually tries to teach you are the mistakes that Indians make, you know, when they're thinking in Hindi or thinking in Gujarati and trying to utter
And that's
English.
an important point to understand, to get into the Indian psyche, that we think in our language and then we try and translate it, which is why we speak the way we do very often. So how much of this was trial and error? I mean, did you keep seeing it and saying no, nah, no, and then, you know, or did you get it like bullseye first time around? Like, how does it
I mean, it never works like that, honestly.
It is always an evolution, you know.
So we started off, so what we did was we had English experts who helped us design like the overall pedagogy, and after that we had to evolve it a lot for all of the Indian languages, right? So a product for Hindi to English again would be different if you're going for Tamil to English, right? Because those two languages are very different as well, right? Tamil grammar is very different from English grammar.
So let me try and understand that. It's not just if I choose, say, you sort of design the code or you know, whatever, however else it works, pardon me, I'm far from a techie, but you design the code, say, to take me through a learning chapter from Hindi to English, but it's not just a copy-paste if you're doing it in Tamil.
No,
you are then having to tweak it to get into the mind of the...
Exactly. So what happens is you've got to take care of the entire sort of language structure in a particular language versus English, and then pay attention to the differences and then really bring those home.
I see.
Whenever you're sort of moving, you know, replicating it for another language and so on. So it's not sort of a simple copy paste or you know, a translation which is needed. You actually need to understand the structure, the grammar nuances, and then really, you know, make sure that people understand those nuances and get those right. So that's one of the things.
Yet not make it overwhelming for the user. So when you said the product is simple, really what happens is there are two ways that you can make a product simple. One is just have very limited features, and the second is that you have the most advanced feature but blanket it in the way that the user experience stays really simple, and that's what we've done. You know, if you look at the app, it lets people talk into it, it lets them play, it's touch interactive, voice interactive, you know, it has lessons, games, lets them read news, you know, everything that you need for English learning, yet the experience is such that the user would feel it's a friendly app, right? They won't get overwhelmed.
Exactly.
So that was the key, even with the content and
that's
the
an important point, because that does tend to happen, because I mean, my sense, and again, a lay person, I'm just trying to understand the space, is that sometimes there's a lot of like, look what I can do with this app. You know, I can show off this and I could do this. But from my perspective, I'm still struggling to get basic things done, saying,
Right.
damn it, this is not, this
Yeah.
is not.
Right.
So, okay, so, and you're saying that there was sort of trial and error and you had to tweak
Absolutely,
constantly.
it's an evolution, and it's still an evolution because we constantly learn from the sort of mistakes that people are making. These millions of learners, when they interact with the system, they're actually giving us feedback on, this is the sort of mistakes that I am
see,
making,
I
and
see,
this is the
I
sort of
see.
mistake a Tamil user will be making, and that is constantly adopted in the product. So in fact, over the past year or so, there are 250 different versions of the app that have come out in the Play Store. So that sort of shows that evolution,
Right.
that
Yeah.
these
Right.
learnings have been
Constant need to-
constantly
right.
adopted back into the app.
What were the early days like? I mean, when it was still sort of, you were still getting ready, counting down to October 2014. Were there sort of frustrating days? Were there challenging
course,
days? Where
of
like, what
course.
am I doing?
I'll tell you the day we had launched the app, the first day, and we were just, we started to sort of spread the word about it, and then suddenly we started to see, hey, there are some people rating this 1 star, and what's happening? And we realized that, just a small tweak that was needed, and it wasn't opening on certain devices.
I see.
So when you're starting up, there are just so many variables when it comes to the product, when it comes to the design, comes to the content, and the more feature-rich your app is, more these variables are, right?
Yeah.
So all you need to do is really, talk to the user all the time, realize what's the smallest point that these guys are facing, and then keep tweaking your app continuously, right? So you can't slow down.
So in fact, our original plan was to sort of launch it beginning of 2014.
I
But
see.
then because we were sure that, we can't really have a half-baked product out for
Right.
this sort of a market, we sort of constantly kept refining it over and over again, and only to sort of release it end of October 2014, right? So in fact, we would have interacted with, I don't know, at least 1,000
Yep.
sort of students, in a physical setting before it actually got released, even to one person out in the market. So that was the sort of evolution it got through even before it hit the road.